booktube, it's Eleanor here, and it's time for another round of RuPaul's Drag Race TBR game. A few of you have mentioned in previous videos in the comments that you'd like to see me pick the cards like I did in the first episode, so I'm going to do that now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the 4 cards. I'm going to pick the Queen, I'm going to pick the challenge that they have to do, I'm going to pick category is for the catwalk and the judge, and that'll give me the 4 prompts to pick 4 books. So I'll do all that with you now, and then after that I will come back to you and as I finish books and tell you my thoughts and my rating. So let's start. I don't want to look, so I'm going to put it to the side. These are the Queen's cards that are left. I'm going to pick this one out. Oh, Heidi in Closet. So Heidi in Closet is my name change queen. Heidi, during her season, changed her name quite a lot, and the prompt for this is an LGBTQIA plus main character, and so I'm going to have to pick a book that fits that prompt. So let's pick Heidi a challenge. Okay, so I've got my challenge cards here. I don't know what any of them are. I'm gonna pick this one. This one. I want this one. Come out. Oh, it's a dance challenge, and that is a bendy book. So that's quite nice. It's just a paperback, it says. A bendy book, just a paperback. So I can pick any paperback, which is a really nice open prompt. Okay, now I need to pick the category for the catwalk. So these are my RuPaul category is cards. I'm going to pick out this one. Oh, category is big hair everywhere. Oh, I think I've had this one before. It's a big book. So I'm going to have to pick out a big book off my shelf. So that's one to, well, it doesn't fill me with dread because the big books need reading too. So big book for category is. So the final thing we need to pick out is the judge. As I've mentioned in previous videos doing this, I put all of the cards apart from the Queen's cards back in so that I can re-pick. And because there's only 4 judges, so I'm not going to look at them, and I'm going to go for this one. Oh, actually, I don't think I've had this one yet. This is Carson Kressley, fashionable at the moment, a buzz book. So I need to pick a book that's being talked about a lot. I'm going to go to my shelves and have a look, and then I'll come back and let you know which ones I pick. Okay, I think I've picked my TBR, and I'm really pleased because some of these books have been on my shelf a little while. For Heidi in Closet, LGBTQIA plus book, I'm going to go with this one. It's called The Inside About by Jen Marie Thorne. So this one's about Daisy, and the day before junior year her best friend Hannah comes out, and Daisy's all set to let her ally flag fly. Before you can spell LGBTQIA, she's leading the charge to end their school's antiquated ban on same-sex dates at dances, starting with homecoming. And if people assume Daisy herself is gay, so what? It's all for Hannah, right? It's all for the cause. What Daisy doesn't expect is that the cause will blow up thanks to Adam, a cute college journalist whose interview with Daisy for his university newspaper goes viral, catching fire in the national media. With the story spinning out of control, protesters gathering, Hannah's left in the dust of Daisy's good intentions, and Daisy's attraction to Adam practically written in lights, Daisy finds herself caught between her bold plans, her bad decisions, and her big fat mouth. So I think this is going to take a really good look at what it is to be an ally to your friend if they're coming out, and sort of friendships, and how good intentions can sometimes go wrong, and how you have to sort of really think about things before you make any big decisions on someone else's behalf. So I'm looking forward to this one. Okay, so the challenge was a bendy paperback. I could pick anything, but I really wanted to get to this one. It's Fumbled by Alexa Martin. I've previously read, now what was it called? Intercepted by this author, and so I wanted to read the next one in this sort of spin-off series. This is about single mother Poppy Patterson. She moves across the country when she was 16 and pregnant to find a new normal. After years of hard work, she's built a life she loves. It may include a job at a nightclub, weekend soccer games, and more stretch marks than she anticipated, but it's all hers and nobody can take it away except for one person. TK Moore, the starting wide receiver for the Denver Mustangs, dreamed his entire life of being in the NFL. His world is football, parties and women. Maybe at one point he thought his future would play out with his high school sweetheart by his side, but Poppy is long gone and he's moved on. When Poppy and TK cross paths in the most unlikely of places, emotions they've suppressed for years come rushing back. But with all the secrets they never told each other lying between them, they'll need more than a dating playbook to help them navigate their relationship. So I'm very excited about that one. Okay, so category was big hair everywhere, big book. Now for me, a big book is really a book over 400 pages, maybe even over 500. So I've picked up Unsticky by Sarah Manning. Now this one is over 500 pages. It's about 550 pages, but it's a contemporary story, which is what I was looking for. And I've really enjoyed some of Sarah Manning's books before. So this one says, money making makes the world go round. That's what 20-something Grace Reeves is learning. Stuck in a grind where everyone's ahead apart from her, she's partied out, disillusioned and massively in debt. If she's dumped by another rock band wannabe, squashed by anyone else at her cutthroat fashion job, or chased by more bailiffs, Grace suspects she'll fall apart. So when older, sexy and above all wealthy art dealer Vaughan appears, she's intrigued against her will. Could she handle being a sugar daddy's arm candy? Soon Grace is thrown into a world of money and privilege at Vaughan's beck and call in return for thousands of pounds in luxurious gifts, priceless clothes and cash. She's out of her depth. Where's the line between acting the trophy girlfriend and selling yourself for money? And more importantly, whatever happened to love? So I've been meaning to get to this for ages, so I'm really pleased that this can fulfill that prompt. And then the final challenge, set by the lovely Carson Cresley, is fashionable at the moment, a book with buzz, and I'm going to read Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Bayron. This is a book that I'm hearing lots about. Loads of people have mentioned it in either their most anticipated or their recent reads. People are really enjoying it. It's based on the Cinderella myth, but it's set sort of years in the future as if Cinderella was a real thing. And now these girls have to go through this sort of initiation, I suppose, like almost like a bachelorette thing where they have to go and find their own Prince Charming. But our main character is a lesbian, I believe, and isn't interested in that. She's in love with her best friend. And yeah, I've heard really great things. There's been a lot of buzz, so I thought, yeah, why not pick it up while it's fresh? So that's the 4 books for these first 4 challenges. If the total of the Goodreads rating I give for these 4 comes over 17, then Hide It in Closet will just Shantae stay. If, however, it's under 17, she will have to lip sync for her life. But let's see how we get on with the books first, and I'll come back when I've read the first one. Okay, so it's a few weeks later actually, because I had the reading rush which I took part in, and so now I am following up on my Hide It in Closet picks, and some of them changed. I think it's become apparent to me recently that I really like this format of having sort of 4 books and a mini TBR rather than doing these big TBRs every month. It really keeps me focused, but I need to be going into those 4 books straight away. I had this gap in between from when I picked them, and then by the time I came to actually reading these books, I didn't want to read them anymore. I'm very fickle, I think, and you know, those are the books I wanted at the time. I'm quite mood readery, so it didn't work, so I ended up having to swap some around. So Hide It in Closet, name change. And this was an LGBTQIA+ main character. So I swapped out the book that I had chosen and I decided to pick up this. It's called Read with Pride. It's part of the Paper and Heart Society series by Lucy Powery, who's one of our fellow booktubers. This is the 2nd book in her series, and it's just, they're such a joy to read. They're set in the UK, which I really like because there's not many YA that I tend to read that are set in the UK, so it's always refreshing. The first book in the series followed one of our main characters as she came down, I think it was from Cheltenham, and she was living with her grandmother, and she decided to join this book club and met this group of friends of a similar age, and they formed this Paper and Heart Society book club, and it was just about them getting to know each other, and there was lots going on in their lives. There was lots of mental health conversations that happened in that book, and I really enjoyed it. This one picks up where the last one left off, and I don't want to go too much into it. However, I can tell you a little bit about the plot because it's sort of a separate story in itself. So I won't tell you too much about the characters because they're things you discover in the first book. But in this one, Tabby is starting a new school, and she's joined with a couple of the Paper and Heart Society members. The others go to college, and the school over the summer holiday has had a complaint from one of the parents to say that they're not happy with their child being able to take out LGBT books from the library, and so they've put their foot down, and so the school library has had to send out permission slips that children have to get their parents to sign to say if they're allowed to take out certain types of books. And also these books are completely covered in stickers and stamps to say that they have LGBT content. Now, this is an affront to Olivia especially, who is our Paper and Heart Society founding member. And she goes on a quest to stop this and reverse it. It discusses how important it is for people to be able to see themselves in books, certainly people that are trying to discover their sexuality, and also that censoring reading and censoring books is not helpful at all to children who are trying to discover who they are. This book is filled with characters, new characters and old, that you just grow to love. What I really loved about this book is there was loads of really great representation, and for children or adults even that are trying to discover their sexuality, perhaps have questioned it or perhaps don't know, there's loads of explanations in here for what certain terms mean: asexual, demisexual, bisexual, gay, lesbian. There's so much in here for people to come away with and just to get a better understanding. I'm definitely going to read anything that Lucy writes again. Her writing style is free and easy, and it's a lovely way to read. There's so much depth in here that you sort of take away, and the character relationships are really well formed and really thoughtful and really real feeling, and the school situation was great. I did feel like I was back in my senior school, and yeah, I really enjoyed this one and I gave it 4 stars. So it was a really good start for Heidi. For category is Big Hair Everywhere, a big book, I decided to go for The Hardest Fall. I was fancying some romance. I really liked Ella Mays's books before. She wrote To Love Jason Thorne and To Hate Adam Connor, a sort of duology that I really enjoyed, and I'd heard this one was really good. It's about a girl and a football player at college. They sort of meet in quite a funny way in the beginning. She's in a bathroom, he's in a bathroom, and you'll find out what happens, and then their paths cross over the years. There's something going on with her, and something happens to him, and they end up sharing an apartment together and becoming friends, and then this sort of relationship develops. I didn't really get on with this one. I didn't like our main character, the female main character, at all. I just thought she was yeah, she was quite flitty between one feeling you think she's strong and then she ends up being really shy, and her shyness grated on me. I didn't feel like it was very realistic. I found it quite jarring. I didn't feel any chemistry at all between 2 characters, which is a bit of a bone, you know, that's what you want in a romance. So this one, I think I was quite generous and I ended up giving 3 stars. It was okay, but it wasn't great, and yeah, it just wasn't really for me, this one. Okay, so the challenge was Dance, a bendy book, a paperback. So I had picked Fumbled by Alexa Martin, and I've just finished this. I read it in a day. It was such an easy read, and I knew it would be. I'd read the first book in this series, and we seem to be following a selection of men playing for this particular NFL team, as well as sort of an array of women who don't quite fit into the norm of what an NFL wife might be, in the traditional sense, or should I say the stereotypical sense of this sort of vapid, bitchy, social climbing woman. So in this, it's single mother Poppy. She has a 9-year-old son, and it's no spoiler to say that she has a high school sweetheart who she left, who is now an NFL player. They haven't seen each other. There was a complete parting of ways, and we uncover the reasons for that quite quickly in the book. And I think the reason why this one wasn't a 4-star for me was that it moved a bit quick, and then yeah, I don't know, I just felt like the pacing was off. Everything just moved quite quickly, and there was quite a lot that was sort of packed into this book, and I don't know if we really had time for it all to settle in and to sort of get to grips with it all. And I know because of their history things moved faster, but yeah, I was just, everything was just a bit too quick, and it was sort of like, oh, and it's done. And yeah, I don't know, it just didn't hit that home run or touchdown or whatever it is for me, but I did really like it. I mean, Alexa Martin writes a great sex scene, and she also does some great characters, some really good banter between the male and females, and some really strong and empowering female friendships. I love that. There's a line in here where all of the women that she's made friends with say to her, like, he's just our husband's work colleague, you're our friend. And I just thought that was really great. I love to see that in a book. So yeah, it was really good, and I gave it 3 stars, so that doesn't mean I didn't like it. It just wasn't the strongest. It wasn't as strong as Intercepted, which was the first book I read. I have got the 3rd one, so I'm looking forward to reading that for a readathon next month, but 3 stars for this one. So for our judge, I picked Carson Kressley, and that was a book fashionable at the moment. Now I changed my mind on this one, and I decided to go for Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett. This is a book by a black author, and it's about a main character who is black with HIV. Now although this isn't Own Voices, our author hasn't got HIV, I really appreciated the amount of research and depth that this author went into. And at the end there is sort of an author's note, I listened to this on audio, talking about how she'd shared her story with HIV teenagers and HIV patients. She talked to a number of different people and had certain people read it for realism and to make sure that she wasn't misrepresenting anyone in the book. And I think that's really important, and I thought that was really nice to hear about as well. So in this, Simone is born with HIV, and she's on drugs where she takes a tablet every day to maintain sort of her health. And as long as she does this, she's you know, she's stable and she's okay. She lives with gay parents. She's adopted, and her 2 fathers look after her, and she's never really known she's never known any different. She at the start of the story has had to start a new school a few months previous. There was obviously something that happened at her old school. Someone found out, she shared something with someone she trusted about her being HIV, and they spread it round, and it became very difficult for her because of people's prejudice and misunderstanding. Now my biggest bonus and positive about this book is that it really did share some understanding with me about HIV. I think I really definitely stood in the camp of ignorance on this one, and the information that you find out about HIV, what it's like to live with HIV, and actually some of the misconceptions that people feel about it, I thought was really interesting. Obviously our main character is a normal teenager. She's interested in exploring her sexuality, she's interested in sex, she's interested in forming relationships, and she's certainly at that stage in this book where this is all starting to come out, these emotions, these feelings, and it's about how she can explore these safely, how she can be safe herself, how she can be safe for a partner, how important it is to share the information about yourself with someone you trust in that way, and what you can do to be safe. There was a lot in here that I didn't know at all, and I really appreciated that. Things to do with your U number, if you're if the virus cannot be detected and it's called undetected, then you are relatively safe. The disease isn't functioning, which means that it is more safe for you to have sex with someone who hasn't got HIV, and there are tablets that person can also take. There was so much in here that I thought was really interesting. I liked the fact she went to this support group, which she is supported by other children and teenagers who also have HIV. I thought that was a really interesting element, and I thought it was interesting to see the very different levels of support from different people in her life, from family to friends that she ends up sort of discussing things with, to people that she fancies, and then the wider community. I just thought it was really interesting. It was really good. It didn't quite meet a 5 stars for me, but this was a really strong 4 stars, and definitely one that we need more of. We need more books like this that have topics in there that aren't discussed widely enough. We have a lot of HIV stories, especially sort of musicals and things like that, that have come out of a time where HIV was relatively untreatable. It was new. Lots of people were dying from HIV, and yet in the modern age that's not the case. And I just think it's really interesting to read about this from a perspective who firstly from someone who's born with HIV, then her mother had HIV, she was born with it, which I think is an element I haven't seen before, and from a teenage perspective, and the sort of stigmas that come behind having HIV. I just thought it was a really good book. It was really well written. I liked the fact that our main character had these interests in drama and musicals. I liked the conversations there. She's sort of a student director of a play, which I think is great. And yeah, it just added that extra element of uncertainty in your teenage years. There's really good representation as well. I believe that our main character identifies as bisexual, and one of her friends is it's not really discovered. I think she herself is trying to work out what her sexuality is, perhaps asexual or aromantic, but there's no label put on it, but we find out the things that she's thinking about as the story progresses, which is really interesting. So I gave this one a 4 stars, and it's definitely one that I would suggest people read. Okay, so with 2 4 stars and 2 3 stars, Heidi in Closet has only got 14, which means that she has to lip sync for her life. So I have picked out my lip sync because I wanted to start the book last night, and I didn't want to film with my pajamas on. So I picked out my lip sync one, and I ended up picking up Shut Up and Drive by Rihanna, which is a road trip story. I wish this had kind of come later, because next month I'm reading some summer fling romance books, and I have a road trip book in there, but I did find this other one on my shelf that sat here for far too long, and it's called Field Notes on Love by Jennifer E. Smith, and this is about a cross-country rail journey, so it is sort of a road trip. I think it's about a boy whose girlfriend breaks up with him after they got these tickets to do sort of an across America train trip, and they're non-refundable tickets with their names on, so he puts an ad out looking for someone with the same name as her to join him on the trip. Now this isn't anything new. I think I've seen something else with this story before. I feel like I've seen a film. I don't know. Anyway, I decided that I was going to give this one a go. It's been on my shelf too long. It's about time I read it. So with 14, this has to be a 5-star read for Heidi to carry on. So I'll come back to you and let you know whether Heidi, oh, teeth in, whether Heidi is Shantae staying or sashaying away. Okay, so I read Field Notes on Love by Jennifer E. Smith. I read this in a day, and it was a really quick read, but it just wasn't a favourite for me, unfortunately. This is the story of May and Hugo. Hugo is one of 6. He's a sextuplet, born in England and quite famous in his area because it's an unusual thing to have 6 children all at once. And part of the package of that is that they have been given a scholarship to the local university. They're at that age, they're about to go to university. Hugo just feels like he wants to do something different. He's just broken up with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend and him were going to travel through America before she went to university out there. And so she'd bought the tickets, it was a train travel, they were getting off at different places to stay in hotels, and then they break up. She decides she wants to break up, they break up. He still wants to go on this trip, but he can't. He speaks to the travel operators and they say he can't go unless the person who bought the tickets, and they're all named, is there. So he puts out an advert and he's like, I really want to go on this trip. If anyone called Margaret Campbell is out there, please contact me and you can come on this trip. We don't have to be near each other, but I just want to be able to go on this trip. Anyway, May, who lives in America and wants to be a film student, decides that she's going to take him up on that, and so begins this trip on the trains. And in theory, this sounds like everything should be wonderful. There's travel on a train, there's different cities, there's romance, and just all those elements just didn't fit together for me, unfortunately. There wasn't enough travel-y information. I wanted to be seeing the sights with them, and they didn't really do much sightseeing. I felt like the story could have taken place anywhere, which is a shame, because I think the train travel element would have been, you know, could have been done better. There was also just not enough sizzle between these characters. I didn't feel the chemistry between them. I didn't feel their sort of draw to each other. It just felt, it just fell flat for me, unfortunately. So it was an okay story. It was a quick, easy read. I read it in a day, and it was quite a nice sort of nice book to read. So I'm going to give it 3 stars, because I didn't hate it, but it just wasn't one that's going to be standing the test of time for me, unfortunately. So that's 3 stars. So unfortunately, that means that Heidi in Closet has only got 17 points, which means that she's not reached the 19 to stay. So sorry, Heidi. Sachet away. So far I think it's 2 for 2, maybe 2 have stayed and 2 have gone, so it's all to play for in season 1 of Eleanor's RuPaul's Drag Race game. I'll come back to you soon with my next picks. There may be less picks during the month of August, depending on what fits in, because I am doing the Summer Fling readathon, which is sort of 12 books that I'm trying to read. But it may be that the picks that I pick for the next drag queen fit in with some of those, and that I can work around it. We'll have to see, but I'm really enjoying this. And as I've said before, and I keep saying to people, this small 4-book, 5-book TBR is really working for me, so I'm really pleased that I'm doing it, and I'm really pleased that some of you are coming along on the journey with me. Anyway, I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.